Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
First, wort hopping, thoughts on open fermentation, and mashing on top of existing protein and spent grain. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 298. Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call, be Todd's best friend, leave us a voicemail to 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I'm joined, as always, by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Kegwasher of kegconnection.com right over there, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome back. Oh, hold on. I unmuted the wrong channel. Hey, welcome back.
You always mute me.
I do. Well, and I never record the pre-stuff, and I really wish sometimes I do, because you were singing Montel Jordan's "This Is How We Do It" before I decided I had to mute you.
This is how we do.
Oh, Todd, don't! You're too close. They're gonna demonetize. They're gonna take down the channel on a copyright strike. You sound just like him. You can't do that. I'd have to. Actually, that has happened before, where bands do a cover so good on like a live stream that YouTube shuts it down. Isn't that wild?
But you think I'll be okay?
No, I don't. I don't know. You sound just like him. That was pretty good. I think I was maybe 12 years old when that song came out. What were you, like, partying in your 30s when it came out, Todd?
I don't really remember that song that much. Just
I never listened to that.
You said something. You made that phrase, and the song popped into my head.
James, you weren't cruising down Sweetwater, Texas, listening to Montel Jordan? I'd have a hard time believing that.
I had no earthly idea who sang it, so thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was a huge hit.
Probably AC/DC in my '56 Chevy down Broadway. That's what I drove in high school.
Speaking of vehicles,
Montel who?
Montel Jordan. This is how we do it. No, come on, man. That was in Austin, Texas, 96.7 is what all the pop music
was.
I
only listen to KLBJ.
But
me too.
But you listen to the FM version, right? Like the
yes, of course.
I just mean they had the AM version as well, which was just talk radio, and the FM version.
Yeah. I listen to both, actually.
Yeah.
But
I would have taken you for a KUT kind of guy. You never listen to KUT?
Well, I did. Yeah, I definitely listen to KUT, but Cactus Pryor is the one I always think of.
Yeah, I'm buddies with his son, Don. Cactus Pryor,
that's cool.
Thermos Rocker Mortimer. Anyway, this is now that everyone's dropped off. That isn't unique to Austin or Central Texas.
That's right.
Now that the true fans have stuck around and leaving us a 5-star review on our iTunes, or they don't call it iTunes anymore, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you're listening. Actually, I keep getting told that by people who watch the show that I don't solicit it enough, and we did it like a few months ago, a campaign of soliciting. If you haven't left us a review yet and you want to leave us a good review, you should go leave us a review wherever you're consuming the show. If it's on YouTube, liking the video, subscribing to the channel. If it's on Apple Podcasts, leaving us a review, ideally with 5 stars in there. I don't think I'm supposed to tell you what to do, but leave us a 5-star review if you like the show and what we're doing. It really helps the algorithm.
What if they don't like it?
Then some people, I get the feeling they listen week to week and they don't like it, and then I have to and I'm like, Mom, you're not obligated. Like, you can turn off the podcast, Mom.
Yeah, Mom, just stop leaving us 1-star
Yeah,
reviews.
stop making new accounts, Mom, to leave 1-star reviews. She's like, he's kind of that one co-host. He's kind of bald and sort of gay. Yeah, that's her 1-star review. That's how I know it's my mom leaving the reviews. Small talk I've got on here. We did a video for a new product over at catconnection.com, new product to CM Becker. It's the new CMB regulator. Go check it out at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. James, I'd have to ask you, I'd be remiss if I didn't, because you are Mr. CM Becker. How are you feeling about the release, the launch of the new regulator? How's the reception been?
It seems like it's taken forever.
It's been years.
I think because it has taken forever. It'll be good to get it out in the market.
Yeah, when y'all have been I know Todd's had prototypes that he's been using there, and it took a lot of. Well, I wouldn't call it trial and error, just engineering.
4 years.
It took
us 4 years. Yeah.
Development between y'all here in the States, the team in Krefeld, Dusseldorf, and the team in I forget where in Portugal. Is it Portos? I forget where they're located.
It's close to there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But like you said, it's coming up on 4 years, just about as long as it's taken me to get the website done. I don't know if there's any correlation between those two things, because the website's almost done and the regulators are finally in the market. But I'm excited about it. Anyway, I won't do a whole infomercial for it. If you just go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, if you're already subscribed to us, you probably saw it in your feed. But we have a nice video. We did it from the barn. Todd's showing off all the features of the new regulator. And I really think, Todd, it's gonna be a hit. I think people are gonna enjoy the features of it. Y'all put a lot of thought into it.
It's a great regulator. I mean, we put one on gas the other day because we were doing something and put it on 10 psi, and it moved up a little bit. Any diaphragm regulator will kind of do that. So I moved it a couple times, got it set on 10, and I left it for 24 hours. Looked at it, it was exactly on 10 still. So I love it when a regulator doesn't creep. I don't like creepy regulator. Nothing worse than a creepy regulator.
What a creep. I've been called that before. It's the worst. Yeah, and I wish we had. Do you save all the videos of the tests that you do? Not just for during the development of this, you did a gazillion tests, but when people send you regulators, whether manufacturers specifically of we want you to carry this or that, you've got the most rigorous test I've ever seen in my life, and you almost enjoy filming the faults and then sending it to the people no, look at the creep here, I did this thing. Do you save all those videos? I'd love to compile them and publish it so people can see how anal retentive you are.
You should have seen the CM in Germany. They how old is CM?
89.
He's 80-ish.
80-ish, yeah.
And when I failed his regulator in Germany in front of him, he was not happy. His son is always pretty happy, and CM is not always super. He can be a grumpy old man, but I'm used to that because I hang around him all the time, like my father and my uncle.
Yeah,
but anyway, when I failed his test, he gave me this really bad look. You know the look, right, James?
Scowl.
I've seen it. Yep.
It's funny, James. It's funny he used the word super, because that's the first word I think of when I think of CM. Super. The best. When I first toured CMB Schankenlagen, he'd whatever it was, he'd pick up something that's their product and go, "You see, the best," and then go on to the next.
That's where Danielle gets the best. But he was always telling me slow.
Was he?
Yeah, CM always would go, "Look at this, Todd. It's super.
Yeah, super.
The best." Best.
One thing you did mention in the video about the new CMB regulator, Todd, it's obviously configurable. You're going to make it for secondaries as well. It has dual body, has nitrogen. I didn't ask you, are you going to make a pin valve version of it? Is it compatible to be a pin valve regulator?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Cool. So it's totally versatile.
Perfect. It's perfect for it, actually.
Is it?
It's got a stainless steel body, which I love.
Yep.
That's like I said, that's the one thing I forgot to mention in that video. You were like, "Oh, let's cover all the bases," and I was like, "Yeah, we got them covered." And afterwards, as I was editing it, I go, "Oh, we didn't cover this, but I can write it in the text of the description." But we didn't mention it's good for nitrogen. We're going to make it for secondaries as well, as many bodies as you want on it, and for pin valve. Because right now, I don't know if, I mean, we know because we're in the industry, but I don't know if people listening know the price of 5-pound cylinders has skyrocketed. If you've tried to buy one in the last 2 years, what's the price jump gone? Like 55% increase of?
Well, ours are very, very affordable because we don't have it.
You know, that just reminds me, I won't digress too much on the show, but that reminds me of, we've had competitors in the past before with kegs that would have really low keg prices, and then somebody would call us and go, will you price match this? And you go to the website, and they've been out of stock for months. You're like, wait a second. So can we do that on the CO2 listings? Let's just put them at $20 so that some poor sap at a different company has to try to price match something.
I'll tell you this. I was telling this to somebody in our office earlier today that our cost on a 5-pound CO2 cylinder is now more than what we retail them for a couple of years ago.
Just 2 years ago. I know.
Yeah,
it's crazy town. But anyways, I only bring that up because a lot of people are going to the 20-ounce or 24-ounce cylinders for at home just for the immediate needs of a backup before they can get their cylinder filled. Because finding backup 5 pounds has not been the easiest thing.
So we have been working with a U.S. Manufacturer, and we are in their queue, and we have a blanket order in place, and we should start getting them in November. And once we start getting them in November, we should keep them in stock after that. So
right on. Cool. So there's light at the end of the tunnel. That's good.
Yeah.
Because ever since COVID, it just seems like one thing after another with supply chain, right? Of like, oh yeah, sorry, don't got this, or what's the estimate time for it to arrive? Oh, TBA. It's just TBA whenever it gets there. But anyways,
absolutely.
Relevant small talk. If you go over to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and you join one of our recipe receiving tiers, boom, you're going to get Todd's ESB. That artwork is my favorite artwork I've done. I wish we were still in the business of making the metal tins, and I would underwrite, I would fund the tens of this picture that I made of you, Todd. I think it's beautiful. One of my best pieces of work I've done. But anyways, it's a delicious beer, besides me dogging on Todd. And it comes with one of my favorite strains, Pub from Imperial, our good friends over there. You can get Imperial Yeast if you're not in our Chub Club at any of your favorite local retailers or online. We're big fans of them, obviously. I realize I'm wearing the shirt today. I think it's the third day in a row I've worn it.
I'm confused. So did we haven't shipped those out yet.
That's September's kit.
So why do we have some for us to brew with. We haven't received the ones for the okay. Because James, you don't know this, of course, because you're not here, but James and I are actually I think I'm going to brew it on Sunday.
The ESB again?
Yeah. Because we're totally out. And then I don't know though, because I don't know if James, are you going to still try to do the Oktoberfest, or did you find a hop?
Yeah, I'll do an Oktoberfest tomorrow. We'll just substitute for something else.
Are you doing are you going to do it a traditional way, or are you going to do it under pressure?
So I'm going to do a deconcoction. And then I'll do traditional in the ferment.
Okay, so it'll be a while before we're drinking it. Okay, I mean a while. I'm saying it's going to be a few weeks on the low end before we're drinking.
Yeah.
It. Yeah. No problem. I thought Motttoberfest.
Don't rush our lager.
I'm not trying to. I'm just saying Motttoberfest have been in my feed a lot lately on Instagram, and where people are like, "Oh, my Motttoberfest, my pseudo lager. I did it. I brewed it on a Sunday, and I'm drinking it on Friday." And it's like, oh, that's so nice. And again, I can't stress this enough, James. Your pressure pills, holy moly, it's good. We had Esther's party. Everyone loved it. I'm surprised we didn't.
Oh, that's great.
I'm surprised we didn't float it. Yeah. I really thought we were going to float it. We had a ton of people at the party.
I guess none of my friends were there.
None of your I didn't invite your friends. I invited you. Yeah. I invited
sorry about that.
Yeah, it's whatever. I mean, just celebrating.
We had a bunch of in town.
No, I knew that.
In town. So.
I prefaced the text to you and Liz that I don't expect y'all to make the drive. I know because Liz has family up there right now. Ill family who traveling's not an easy thing on her. So
I
understand. But anyways, the beer, James, was a phenomenal success. I appreciate you brewing that.
No, you bet.
And I took total credit because no one knew you. So they're like, Josh, this beer is great. I was like, I know. I didn't ever say I did it.
That's not the first time that's happened.
Oh, no, it's not. Absolutely. Todd.
No.
So did my beer suck? Or
no, your beer was great too, Todd. But the IPA, I'm not going to lie. You maybe ask my pop for confirmation. I didn't see a single person drink it.
Oh, really? They didn't drink IPAs?
I didn't see a single. And that's not saying that people didn't. I didn't go ask everyone, but I could tell the colors of everything, and I'm pretty good at guessing the beer based off the color. And it's the Kolsch. It was a little darker, so some people that I thought were drinking Kolsch could have been drinking IPA, but because the IPA has been sitting so long, it is now crystal clear, which is how I prefer my beer. But anyway, so yeah, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour to learn more. Join our Chub Club. The recipe is Todd's ESB. Talked about new CMP regulators. Episode 300 is coming up 2 weeks. This is episode 298. We do have confirmation. Our buddy Clay's going to be there. We're recording at the barn. And you think he's going to bring some sour? Is that what I'm hearing through the grapevine?
Yeah, I told him to bring see if it's possible to bring some of that watermelon. So I really want y'all to just sample it. It surprised me how good it was.
We're living in a simulation that James Carlson is using the words "good" and "watermelon sour" in the same breath. I know.
Super, on a really hot day, it was super refreshing. It was really good.
Can you have him bring something that you two will hate so I can watch that? Never mind. I'll miss.
Yeah. You messaged him. You touched him direct. So episode 300. I've been getting some feedback, voicemails. I'd love to hear from our listeners. What's been your favorite moments throughout the last 300 episodes? This is a weekly podcast. If you don't count the year of absence that I made us take forcefully, or accidentally or whatever, that we've been doing this since 2015. It's been a very long time. I'm bad at math, Todd. I think that's 7 years. 7 years plus of podcasting. That's a lot to do weekly. We have friends also in the biz, and they're like, how do y'all do it every week? And I go, I give people Todd's money for their questions. That's how we do it. That's the secret to success. But
we have questions?
We do. But before that, it's time for listener feedback. On the episode 300, I'm going to get the three of us to harmonize that before I play the listener feedback. So let's work on that. Our listener feedback comes from our friend Sean from Virginia.
Hey, Josh. Guys, just when I don't think I can enjoy the show enough, you go and have an alt beer tasting and start throwing in opportunities for crossover episodes. So when you pulled out Dan Carlin and Hardcore History to talk about the Munster Rebellion and the role of beer and the time you guys had, you absolutely have to reach out to Dan Carlin and see if you guys can do some sort of crossover episode, because that might just be my favorite episode of both y'all's podcasts at the same time. Thanks so much. Great show. Keep it up. Much appreciated. This is Sean from Virginia. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Sean, thank you for the feedback. I had to include it, Todd, because we love James. I still don't know. Have you ever listened to Hardcore History?
Oh yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I can clear my schedule for Dan anytime. Anytime.
Do you still have the hat I gave you from Hardcore History?
I do. Yeah,
I gave it to you right before you took me to. No, pardon me. I gave it to you right before we went to the Brow, because you were really wearing it when we were walking around Prague. That's what I gave it to you right before then. And there was a a museum of torture on one side of, is that St. George's Bridge? What's the famous bridge in Prague? I think it's called St. George's, right?
There's a lot of bridges there.
Well, but I think it's called St. George's.
The one with all the statues.
Yep, the one with all the statues on it. Right before we walked, I saw the history, or the museum, of torture, and I thought that's and Todd was wearing his Hardcore History hat. I was like, that's the most Dan Carlin Hardcore History moment to happen. We're in Prague in front of a museum of torture. We didn't end up going in because they wanted a lot of money for it, and I'm cheap, but Dan Carlin I think he's also out of Austin now, or he has been, or at least he does all his shipping out of Austin. I would love to reach out and get him on. That episode is my favorite, the Munster Rebellion. Prophets of Doom is the name of the episode. It's in his archive. I think it's $1, might be $2. Very much worth it. And if you're not already subscribed to Hardcore History, anytime someone asks me what's a podcast I should get into, that's the one I point to every time. Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. I would love to have him.
Yeah, my favorite's the one on Stalingrad. Oh.
And that was a series, right? That wasn't a blitz. That was like a 4, and we're talking like every episode's 3 or 4 hours, and he did like a 4-part series on that. Yeah, he's phenomenal. Does his homework. If we had, imagine the 10-hour marathon we could have with him and Horst on the same episode. Just
oh yeah,
we wouldn't even have to. You know what?
We wouldn't even need to talk.
We wouldn't need to be there. You're right. I'll just connect them and then record it and then slap our logo on it like we did something. But anyway, Zach, thank you so much for submitting that voicemail. Our first question for this week, I say Zach, pardon me. That's our first question. Sean, thank you for submitting that feedback. Our first question is a voicemail from our buddy Zach from Michigan/Florida. He's been on the show, or his questions have been on before. So let's get to Zach's question.
Hey, Todd, Josh, and James. I got a question for you guys about first wort hopping. I was wondering if you guys have any experience with it and what that did for your beers. If you haven't used it, if you had any idea of what you would use it for. I'm curious just to hear what it would impart into a beer. I know it goes great with all the styles that you guys love oh so very much. But if you could let me know your thoughts, I'd love to hear it. Thanks, guys.
I'm an amateur detective. I detected 2 turns he took in that drive on leaving that voicemail. I heard the blinker twice. But no, getting to his question though. First wort hopping. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I'm probably the least experienced in this group. I'd never even thought of doing it. I've heard the term on forums, but I've never given it 2 thoughts. James, I'm gonna throw it to you first. Have you ever done first wort hopping, and what are your thoughts on it?
I never have. I've thought about it, but I need to do a little more research. Oddly enough, I looked on Brewer's Friend, and there's a really good article about first wort hopping. The benefits of it, I don't know near enough to give you any kind of detail, but it's supposed to give a fuller hop bitterness. Instead of it being sharp, it gives you a rounder hop flavor. Now, there's some stuff going on with when it steeps in. Basically, what you do is you put a certain amount of hops in there as you're filling your kettle when you're doing your sparge. And just when it's steeping in that 160 to 170 degree wort, there's some oils that come out, and it supposedly there's some things that happens that there's a notable difference in the bitterness of the beer if you do a first wort hop. You still use the same hops that you would for bittering, but first wort hops is an additional, I think, 30% of your total hop bill. But don't quote me on it. You need to go to Brewer's Friend. There's an excellent article about it. I was able to just read through a little bit of it this morning, but I'm definitely going to have to try it out and get back with you guys.
So the thought behind it is it balances the bitterness, or what's the thought behind it?
It supposedly gives the oils leach out of the hops into that into the wort. And there's some things that happens that causes there's some bitterness that's real sharp. And according to the article, it will it'll smooth that sharpness away and give it a depth of flavor that you would normally get if you just did a 60-minute bittering hop addition.
Okay, interesting. Todd, what are your thoughts before I start adding questions?
I don't know if we read the same article or not, but I read one on it as well, because I've never even heard of it when the question came in. And of course I read the questions like 30 seconds before the podcast started. So there was an experiment in 2 German breweries, and they did it and found that of course the hop level was higher because the hops were in there longer, but that people that tasted the beers in the blind taste test said that it was smoother, even though the hop bittering number was higher. So I thought that was really strange, but it kind of goes in tune with what you're saying, James.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what they mean by the less sharp.
Yeah. So it had higher IBU, but I guess the perception was that it was smoother, right? Yeah.
Right. And then Brewer's Friend also mentioned that to use a noble hop. And there's some properties that you need to look for if you're going to do a first wort hop addition. That there's some hops that there's some characteristics in hops that some hops have that you would not want to use that for. But it's an interesting article, and I'll get a chance to really dive deep in it and read it. I don't know who wrote the article, but it was very well done.
So the one I read, I had to go find it. It was on the Homebrewers Association.
Yeah.
And it's called What is First Wort Hopping, and it went into the whole experiment and everything. Very interesting. I think we should try it.
So
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, if it's a German beer, or it complements German beer well, the styles we like Zach had said. But so if it's like a historic technique, were they using the whole cone? Obviously, is that you think that's gonna make a difference between you? Would you still?
I think hops are hops.
Okay,
I mean, you can use pellets or the article in Brewer's Friend was they were using whole leaf hops. And what was super cool about that is the pickup tube that they were using in the kettle. You know those stainless steel scarring pads that we give out with the brow togs?
Yeah.
They had that wrapped around the inlet of a piece of silicone hose in the bottom of the boil kettle. And I thought, that's genius, because I tried using whole leaf hops several times, and it's just a mess. It stops up the pumps, and I never thought about putting a stainless steel scarring pad as a filter around the inlet of the...
Yeah, so it lets the good stuff come through, but not the particulates.
Yeah, it doesn't let the hop particles or the hop leaves stop up the pump.
Yeah, that's the woes of using whole hops, right? Is that
it's a mess. You definitely have to have Clay had it was a hop blocker that he got from Blinkman, and it was just a perforated cylinder that slid over the inlet on the kettle, or the outlet on the kettle, and it would block the hops. But every now and then you'd have to have a pretty long spoon and scrape it away, kind of like what the Grainfather has. You know, on the bottom of the where it's going out of the Grainfather, there's a perforated cylinder with a plastic cap on one side, and that's kind of to keep the hop particles from stopping up the pump. This guy that took the picture, it showed the hops, whole leaf hops in the bottom with the little wart.
Yeah,
they had a tube with a stainless steel scouring pad over the tube, filtering out, keeping the hop flowers from getting into the pump. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty brilliant. Yeah, Todd, you had a look on your face like you wanted to say something.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Well, I said something earlier about it's a mess, and you had a look on your face as if like.
Oh no, I think I was laughing earlier at it cracks me up when we get a question and we both say we don't really know anything about it, and then you're like, well, let me ask you some real specific questions about it then.
Yeah, I do every time.
You've never done it. You don't know anything about it. So what do you think about the variance between whole hops and pellet hops in this? I'm like, I don't know anything. I've never done it before, so I don't really know.
Cut this question out.
But I do want to try it. I think we should try it. So
I just don't. Well, so again, I know you haven't tried it. I'm not trying to elaborate for the sake of it, but you're saying, James, this is not in place of bittering hops when the boil starts. This is an addition to that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
According to the article I read.
Okay.
Yeah. I just kind of glanced over it because. Right. I have had in the past when I would research a specific style of German beer. I don't remember which one it was. I know you probably wouldn't want to do that. And the article states specifically that you don't want on malty beers. You probably don't want to do a first wort hop, but there's some German styles that's what they do. And they found out that it's by accident that it takes the hop flavor and bitterness to a different level.
Maybe
that's what you're going for in the beer.
Yeah.
The new hop flavor isn't easily defined, and the chemistry behind it isn't fully understood. But normally, an adjustment of 10% is added to calculate the bitterness in IBUs.
Oh,
so that's interesting.
Which article was that?
That's the one in the Homebrewers Association.
Okay.
So that's interesting. 10% is what, and when I look at the numbers from the German study that they did. It's 37, 38, 39. It's not 10%. It's like 7.
In the Brewer's Friend, it says use approximately 30% of the total hop bill for first wort hopping. But you just Google it.
Yeah.
I wish they'd say who did this.
You don't got to overthink it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's cool about Brewer's Friend is it lays out the steps on how to do it and what their idea. You got to understand everything's relative. So you've got people thinking it should be done this way, and people. I think just experiment. And
send me that article.
For you works.
So I'll put it in the show notes.
The interesting thing to me is it says like on this one it's 34%, which is really close to that, and but then it says Then it just says that's of the hop weight. It doesn't really tell you how they use the other hops. So I wish they had more information. Like, were they just flavoring or aroma hops, or were they additional bittering hops? So
it'd be a good
I don't
time.
really know.
I bet you our friend
Right.
Lorena Evans at brewersfriend.com would know or have.
She's never done that. She doesn't know anything
You know
about
what? I'm going to try to pipe her in for episode 300.
it. Okay.
I'm going to see if we can get her on episode after we've been drinking thoroughly. After we are thoroughly kerschnonkered, we're going to put Lorena on Zoom. And
Okay.
Lorena, I want a first wort hop on Fuggles. What are your thoughts? And she's going to hate me. She unblocked me on Facebook, Lorena. Unblock me. No, I'm kidding. She didn't block me. She just doesn't interact with me anymore. Yeah, no, this seems interesting. Maybe on your next pressure pills you do, that'd be a good time to try it, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe
just the regular pills.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying the pressure pills was so delicious and it happened so quick that it was grained to glass so quick. I'm just a big fan of it now, Todd.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Don't mess this up for me. It's so good. But anyway, with the pressure pills is something we should take a survey of the Trub Club to see how many people would be cool with us doing that one of the months. Or I guess the grain bill's so easy, that could be a month, Todd, where we've talked about bringing options back every now and then when we can. That might make sense to do that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know James is so humble. He's like, it was very straightforward. It was nothing. Oh, well, maybe that's just...
It was a super simple grain bill.
Just the best way to brew then, because it was so good. Like I said, everyone, it's like a Kolsch in regards to a fan favorite where, you've been drinking, Bud Light this up until this point of today. Try this, and that is familiar but better is some of the feedback I was getting. Where the taste is familiar, it's just better.
And you've got a pressure fermenter there too.
I've got two. Yeah.
So you could totally do that recipe and brew it.
Absolutely.
Super simple.
Yeah, that's what I should do. I should give you beer back. You keep giving me beer. Here I am telling you what to do with your life. I need to brew y'all beer and bring some up there. That's what I need.
Yeah, you do. You're right.
Yeah. Womp womp. Anyways, Zach, thank you so much for submitting that question. It's a great time to remind y'all if and when you leave us a voicemail to 325-305-6107, you get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. If it's a text or an email or a direct message or a smoke signal or however else you can get it to me, you'd still get a $15 gift card, which I think is pretty good. So moving on to question number 2 was a text message from our buddy Aaron W. to our hotline at 325-305-6107. Aaron wrote, thoughts on open fermentation? I read that with too much inflection. I'm like Ron Burgundy. Thoughts on open fermentation. If wild yeast takes over my batch, should it be the same wild yeast every batch if I ferment in the same place? I had to get some context from him, and he was like, I'm going to have the fermenter in the same room, never moved at all. So in theory, wouldn't it be the same wild yeast that would be propagating or coming into my fermenter? I told him, I don't know. I'll take your question on the show. James, what are your thoughts, first off, on just the concept of open fermentation?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to visit, is it Canyon, the brewery in Belgium, in Brussels?
Todd just put his headphones back on. What was the name of the brewery?
Canyon in Brussels.
We were able to. It was in.
It's in Brussels.
Okay.
Yeah, we were able to go through a tour of it, and oddly enough, they had pumped the hot wort into this big copper vessel. It was shallow but big, and the roof had tiles with flutes so air could circulate through, and that's how it was wild yeast.
Cantillon.
And they had, if you remember, Todd, they said that they had decided to change the roof because they thought it needed the roof. And when they did that, they didn't produce the same product.
Whoa.
Yeah, they had to replace the roof. Like, it was falling apart. Yeah. So it said it took over a year for it to build back up the yeast. Yeah.
Yeah. It completely devastated their production because they couldn't get the same product out. So I think it's not only the area, but it's also like he said, the environment that it's in. to produce that same type of yeast. But wild fermentation is something, honestly, I've never done. And we were able to listen to a little bit of it from that brewmaster at, people say Canyon. It's a sour. I guess, do they do sours, or is it
like farmhouse? Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It was fascinating.
I
just to go through that whole thing. They put it in wooden, like wine casks or wine barrels. That's where they store it, and they'll store it for. They used aged hops as well. It was fascinating.
They're world famous, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
I've always thought it was Cantillon, but I might be adding letters. Cantillon is what Todd said.
Cantillon is
okay.
I have seen somebody wearing a shirt before and said, I've been to the Cantillon brewery, and I'm pretty sure they corrected me. So, but you know me, it doesn't bother me. You can correct me.
You call whatever you want.
Yeah. I think I'm
still going to call it it's the Trub Club.
That's right. Oh yeah. That if we get, I wish before I deleted accidentally the entire server full of voicemails, we had 2 or 3 of people legitimately like, okay, Josh, you think you're funny. And first off, it's not Trub Club, it's Trub, you idiot. Like they were being serious. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll put that on the show. And then I deleted all the voicemails. But
next time you get one, don't delete it.
Oh no, I didn't mean to.
That would be great for a bumper.
I just think I would, right? You're listening to Homebrew Happy Hour, idiot. Yeah. Back to Aaron's question.
I still have. Hold on. I still have 2 of those beers in my fridge. Next time for the 300th anniversary, we should drink them. They're only like 11 ounces. We'll split them 3 ways.
And that's the beer.
Still have 2 of them.
They're farmhouse, right? So that's
yeah. So I've had them for 5 years, 4 years. I don't know. I guess they're still good. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember us lugging them all from train to train, and you got more than I did.
Yeah.
And they're lambics is what they're called.
Lambic.
I'm on their website right now.
That's sour to me. When I hear lambic, I think of farmhouse. I think of sour. Todd, you're talking about earlier you were talking about beers that James and I will hate. There you go. You found one. I bet you pop open a lambic, it's not going to be my go-to.
James loved it when we were there.
Well, no, but James,
I think they were good.
I was saying, he also is liking watermelon sour. I'm learning a lot. There might be. I'm looking forward to the watermelon sour not being awful. I'm going to go in with an open heart, open mind. But for Aaron's text,
it looks like they're doing a Goza and a Creek and all different kinds.
I would say to Aaron, if that seems to be the style that lends itself best to open fermentation. If you're trying to make a smooth German pils, I say that, you know what? Wait a second. Doesn't Schlussel do open fermentation, or is it a clean room?
They do open fermentation, but it's not wild. They use a specific yeast. They just put it in a fermenter that's open. The whole top is open.
Gotcha.
And they have it in a clean room.
I'm pretty sure wild yeast generally would be something like that. It's not
like a lambic.
It's gonna have some sour or some off flavor. I mean, obviously, at some point, somebody captured all the yeast that we use in beer.
Totally.
But yeah, it's something I've never done. You know what? It might be something that would be fun to do. Like maybe if you brewed 20 gallons, 18 gallons of beer, to maybe take a couple of those gallons and put it and do an open fermentation and see what kind of crap you end up with. But I couldn't imagine doing it with a whole 15-gallon batch.
Do a ranch kettle sour with wild. I guess you have a May mailing address. There you go.
I'm sorry. I sounded negative from the very start of this experiment.
Just a touch.
To my mind, as the novice of the group, I will take that role. Fermentation to me needs to be more controlled, so I know the outcome. Open fermentation just doesn't appeal to me based off that. It's like, no, I'm using this specific strain. Like for the ESB, I'm using pub. I want to get out of this beer what pub is going to get out of it and nothing else. That's why you are in a controlled environment for fermentation in my thought process. But it's the Wild West, baby. We're living, people do whatever they want. You get wild yeast too.
That's true. I knew a guy that he just used liquid malt extract and baker's yeast.
Interesting.
And he just did that. He just needed alcohol. He wasn't really concerned about how good the beer tastes. And he would come by the parts store and he would drop me off at, I can never forget, it was always in Corona bottles. And a buddy of mine, Bud, worked with me. He was a friend of his and he knew I brewed, and he dropped it off, and there would be like pellicles inside the bottle. And yeah, it just wasn't.
I'm going to do
that. Was
I think I'm going to do a gallon of wild ESB this weekend.
You're a madman.
Wild. I'm going to call it wild ESB.
Yeah. Or what was that recipe for that our friend? I won't mention her name, but you Texas boys. What was that beer? That's what you should do. A wild Texas boys.
The red IPA.
That's what it was.
The red IPA. Oh, it was strong. God, it was so strong.
You Texas boys.
I saw at least 2 people go down from that beer. I mean, go down. Yeah.
Hard. Yeah,
remember that guy that worked for my brother when he drank it.
Oh yeah,
he drank it all night, and he was like, "I don't go big color."
Yeah,
and another guy almost got knocked down that night too.
That's
right. Yeah, it was
from that first guy. Oh yeah, when high boozy beer and parties, they don't mix well, but it's entertaining when you're not church knockered. I had a great time. You kidding me? I loved it. It was great. But so let's wrap up his question. In theory, if the environment and the location of his fermenter don't change, then he will probably be able to make consistently tasting beer from his open fermentation.
It'd definitely be something worth trying,
Okay.
I would, my thought on it for final thought is that he may or may not make consistent beer if he does it all in the same place. How about that?
I love it. That is if you ever read my emails to people, that's how I address everything. I'm surprised you did that, Todd, because I thought I annoyed the hell out of you when I do that.
Well, the reason I say that is because it's wild yeast. I mean,
you just don't know.
I don't know what you're going to get. It's hard to say,
You just don't know. Now, unlike the first question where we're like, oh yeah, we should try that. I personally, guys, don't have any desire to do open fermentation or wild yeast propagation. I just don't. I already know there's better yeast options out there that are going to produce what I want. So
just wait. The ranch yeast is going to be the new great yeast in the world. Yeah. It's,
okay. You do the ranch yeast. I'll do a bearded yeast Kolsch. That's what we'll do. It'll be.
The only thing I've ever done is for wild fermentation is sourdough. And that's it.
And that seems like appropriate implementation of using wild yeast. I mean, the dough's you're going for sourdough. I can't think of wanting to brew the type of beer. But anyways, Aaron, not making fun of you, throwing you under the bus. You do whatever you want. You're an adult, and you just got yourself a $15 gift card to Keg Connection. Moving on to our third and final question for this week, guys. It's another voicemail. It's our buddy Gary from Louisiana.
Hey, good morning, Josh. Good morning, Todd. Good morning, James. This is Gary in Louisiana. Quick question for you. I was mashing in this morning and bringing my temperature up to snuff here, and I noticed that I still had some proteins in the water, and also some pieces of spent grain in my kettle. So what I'm wondering is if I mashed on top of that, if that's going to cause any kind of issues. I don't think it will, but I wanted to ask anyway. Anyway, thanks for fielding my question, guys. Good luck. Continued luck with the show, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you, Gary, for the question. I did reach out to him for some when I text people like, hey, we're taking your question. I always typically will ask for additional context if we need to add. And he did text back saying it was spent grain from a brew day the week before. When I use my 20-gallon kettle, I throw my brew bag from that in my 10-gallon kettle after a squeeze, and some grain happened to still be left in there that I didn't notice until my water was already at temp. And then he said he was using the 10-gallon when he noticed it while he was going to do a 5-gallon wheat beer. So that's all the context I was able to get. James, I can't imagine if you had any spent grain, like if it's to the point of no return, like, oh, I'm already mashing in, and I happen to notice there's definitely spent grain in there, assuming it's obviously not a huge amount. You're not getting any more sugars. It's spent, right? So what could happen?
I can't imagine. That really, I don't think anything. I mean, it is possible that there could be some, but it hasn't boiled yet.
Right, that's what I was thinking too. Like you're gonna get out if there were contaminants on it from it going unnoticed after he took the brew in the bag out of that kettle the week before. You're gonna boil that stuff out, right? If there was any contaminants that were on that grain.
Well, I say yes and no. Sometimes when you have an infection, anything that has, there's probably a little bit of residual sugar. It's like if you've got spoiled food, you can't boil it or cook the spoiledness out because the toxins have already been generated on the food, and that's what makes you sick. But with spent grains, anybody that's had any spent grains and they say, well, I'm going to save this for cows or whatever, it doesn't take very long for it to get foul smelling.
Quick.
And quick. And so if it's just a little bit in the bottom, I just have to know how much. If it's just a little residue, then you're probably all right. But if there was enough in there, you would smell it before you ever put anything in it.
And that's why I figured it was residual or like tiny, like residue. Pardon me. That's what I assumed too. Because like you said, I can't imagine. Like I think one of our former sales guys, didn't he not clean equipment one time and he walked in there and it was like, I think he was using the grain father, and next time you pull it out and it was like, what the hell? And it started fermenting, I think, in the sparge arm. Like there was stuff stuck in the sparge. I might be.
It was it was the coil in the HLT.
Is that what it was? And it was already, and it was like fermenting though, right? Because it had been.
Oh yeah, it had already. It had pressured up the coil. When I opened the valve up, it spewed sour, nasty wort all over the wall.
But I'm saying there was no mistaking it.
Oh God! It took Todd out of his office on the other side of the building, and he walked out like, "What the heck's this?"
Yeah.
It took weeks for that smell to go away.
Yeah. Did it really? Oh, but that's terrible. Obviously a whole different scenario than this. But Todd, do you have you brew on a variety of kettles or a variety of equipment and different, and you also lately you don't really do different volumes. You're pretty much consistently on the Brautag, but you have all this equipment, so you're no stranger to like, I feel like doing the cooler brew. I'm going to do it on this, or I'm going to do it on that. And sometimes, I know you're the king of clean, and especially with dispensing equipment in your faucets, but how would you have approached this, and what like, I guess, what is your take on what's happening with Gary? Like, don't worry about it. It's probably not that big a deal because it's, just a little bit of residue.
I'm not answering this question. You're trying to get out of cleaning your kettle next time. Next time you use it. Now, I know where this is going. I'm not falling for this at all.
I'm not giving any support.
No, you got to clean your kettle. Oh,
that's Todd's feet. I knew that was going to be your feedback. You're going to ask, well, Gary, how did you not see that before you did it? Because you were anal retentive it's not to a fault. It's to a fault because it annoys me, but it's not to an actual functional fault. Like, when's the last time you've made a beer with an off flavor? I don't think I've known you since you've made a beer.
Yeah, you said I made one with an off flavor not too long ago.
And I lost $5. Right. And I lost $5. I think I was having a stroke. I don't know. I thought I had a gotcha moment, and I for sure I smelled it. I'm still not convinced y'all weren't in on it together, like getting the $5 from me. Did I mention?
I drink that whole keg.
I know you did. I know you did, James. I lost. I know. I don't know if I'd said it on air or not last week, but we made a new $5 bet that I'm not going to lose any more $5 bets for the rest of 2022. And now I just have the discipline of a monk to not make it. Todd is trying to goad me every chance he can. He's like, who is the 16th president? Like, he's doing easy ones, and then we're back, and then we're not doing the bet because he knows I'm so stupidly dense. There will be something that comes up where I will, in confidence, just be like, "No, you're wrong. Let's bet $5," and then I'm gonna have to give him 10.
That's gonna be the sweetest $10 I've ever put in my pocket. Although you're gonna send it to me digitally, but that's all right.
And he mates me instantly when I'm like, I don't have cash.
I saw it. Yeah,
you did. You were there.
You did that when we did the alt beer video.
You were there. That's right. These people don't realize how frequently this happens.
Yeah, because it's not fun. I mean, what he'll do, James, is like a day later, he'll buy breakfast And then I'll go, hey, and later on I'll go, hey, where's my $5? Well, I'll buy you breakfast.
Yeah, no. You don't let me do that anymore. I did try.
No.
I did try to get out of it that way, and now I buy breakfast because I'm just a nice person, Todd. But
yeah,
frequently I don't buy breakfast. I'll know when maybe he's doing the hint whenever he goes and gets coffee in that back room at the place we go to, and he's taking his time and he's just trying to talk.
Oh, that's all I got to do.
You're talking to the old guys. I'm at the bar. I'm up there at the cashier place. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get it today. I didn't even get to do the slow draw, but no. Back to Gary's question. Enough about me and my misery working for Todd Burns for almost 15 years. I would say I would have to agree that next time, I bet you next time Gary does a better spot check. But in this case of noticing it, if you couldn't tell based off like a smell of, it probably wasn't enough to where it's going to affect your new batch at all. I'll make that claim. I think you all agree with me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward stuff. This might be a case of relax, don't worry, just have a homebrew. But if, I took his question, I think he submitted the voicemail a week ago. So it might be close to where he can give us an update of how that batch turned out. It was a wheat beer. He said he was doing a 5-gallon batch. That is, though, like Todd said, that is a good PSA that especially when you own a lot of equipment, do spot checks before you use them. Especially if you haven't used it in a while or if it's not your main go-to, because not just for like residuals from your last brew day, but I mean, buggies, depending on where you store it. Todd keeps the stuff on top of a garage, or what do you call? I mean, it's a loft is what I call it in your garage.
Loft, I guess. Yeah, it's an attic that's open.
Where I've seen spiders crawling in your stuff up there, and I've seen a lot of stuff. My protein. That's that's what you called the weevils when y'all used it when we couldn't send it out for recipes and y'all were like, we'll use it. It's protein. Just throw those weevils right in that. You don't care at all. It was a weevil lager, or I don't even know what y'all brewed with it that one time. James, what did y'all brew with it? That grain that you couldn't send out because it had like a tiny bit of weevils in it. Was that the Franken Ale or was that not the Franken Ale?
No, I actually took that bag home. It was we had some Munich malt, Vienna malt, and something else. But anyway, I literally went through each bag and put it in my freezer.
Oh, but so you picked them out. You didn't just use them.
And
for the most part, you didn't pick them out, did you?
I had a screen in the living room and a 5-gallon bucket, and I was watching TV and pouring it into that. I had, those fine mesh screens.
Yeah.
I had that, and I had a little pint pitcher, and I'd pour it in there, go through, dump it, and I did it. It didn't take that long, but for the most part, there wasn't any in them, and they were on the outside.
That's impressive. Todd, you would have just poured it right in, right? The mash tun?
Oh, yeah. Weevils. Yeah, they weevil and they wobble, but then they just fall down.
Every time.
So they don't fall down.
But they don't. Every time, Todd. I'm going to stop saying weevils on the show or asking you about weevils. I hate it. But that's the actual saying. If I had done it, I would have butchered it. People do point that out, too. Some people have left me feedback about the last 300 episodes. Like, I look forward to you butchering, old sayings. Like, I just can't get anything right. I won't go down that rabbit trail ever again, though, guys. But anyways, that's all the questions I have for this week's show. Gentlemen, I appreciate y'all's time. Next week is episode 299. I was about to say next week's 300. No, it's not. 2 weeks. I got ahead of myself. But thank y'all for doing today's show. I'll see y'all soon.
Thanks.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or be Todd's best friend by leaving us a voicemail at 325-305-6107. Hey, you! Get a free pack of Imperial yeast along with premium, delicious recipes from us when you join our Chub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.